Well, welcome back to Principles with Cory and Logan. We've got an awesome episode for you guys today. This is going to be really good. You're going to meet some successful men today, some guys that just watching them is motivating and encouraging. They've got an inspiring story and really looking forward to digging in. So today I want to welcome Jeremy and Daniel Butler. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cory.
Show or podcast.
Good to be here.
This is a podcast, right? So, yeah. Well, hey guys, we want to dive into your story, but before we do that, really, our podcast is called Principles. Just want to kind of dig in. What are some of your core values? What are the principles you try to live out? And Daniel, what about yourself? What are some of your core values?
Well, man, as far as priorities, I try to keep God first, family second, and career third, and try to live it in that order. Core values, simple, man, so I keep it simple. The golden rule, we've kind of had that for years as our core values in the business there at Reed's Metals. We come up with an acronym, WIWT. It stands for What I Want This. And it basically applied to anything we did throughout the business, whether it was coming in the front door, the way I'm greeting people, what I want to be greeted that way. The way I'm selling this thing, is that how I would want to be treated? And like I said, you boil it down as basically the golden rule, but it applies to everything we did and are doing now. From delivery service to manufacturing, if the product was good enough for me, it's good enough for the customer. But if it wasn't, I shouldn't be sending that out. If it's scratched, and I wouldn't want that, so it kind of was a universal QC as well. But it's that's it in a nutshell. It's just kind of the golden rule. I try to live by that. Don't always succeed at it, but always try to have that my day-to-day doings. I never want to be out and about and dodging people that I've hoodooed or tried to screw over. I want to be able to have a clear conscience at the end of the day there. So.
Maintain that integrity. Integrity is one of Logan's core values there. I like that. I like the simple too, right? I mean, cookies on the bottom shelf, right? Cookies on the bottom shelf.
Right.
What'd you say? I want to catch that one more time. WIWT?
Yep. What I want this.
Yeah, I like that, man. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, what about you, Jeremy? What are some of your core values?
Yeah, you'll find talking with me and Daniel, we're pretty well a carbon copy. So
what he said.
We've been, what he said, but I might elaborate on that a little bit. But a lot of priority wise would be, like he said, God and family, and then work. But on the value side, the WIWT, that was a big part of what we did at Reed's and kind of the culture we built there around core values. But we even took that acronym and took it a little step further, and that really was our quality control measure, in the shop. And kind of like you said, from the front door, from people coming in the front and leaving the back, from the phone call, how they answered the phone. But we even made a logo out of it and made like a quality control sticker. So that was when they would make a product and it was ready to go out, that was our QC. It was WIWT approved. Had a check on it on our little sticker. So we really implemented that heavy in our manufacturing business, and that was a good way to kind of, I think you talk about compounding efforts, and that was one thing that we could do. And I think a lot of times people talk about core values and stuff in business, all this stuff, on time and hard workers and all this stuff. But, and it's stuff that just kind of winds up in a book somewhere or on a wall, maybe in a conference room or something. And nobody really ever even pays attention to it. So we tried to really get granular and get it ingrained in the fibers of the day-to-day operation of the business, right down to on our invoices, it had the stamp on it, and our delivery drivers were seeing that every day and checking it off and trying to really ingrain that and create a customer experience, to where they really could see that in action. We even, I think one of the logos said, ask us about WIWT, and trying to get engagement from the customers and say, hey, what is that? And then that's when we have the opportunity back on the delivery driver, the sales floor, the greeter, whoever, to really elaborate on our core values as the business and kind of how we operate personal outside of business as well. It's really just kind of souping up the golden rule, like Daniel said. But yeah, it was a great thing for us there in our previous business and trying to live by it day by day. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love what you said there. It's easy to say that and put it up on a wall, a wall, and kind of touch it on your way in and all that kind of good stuff. But I mean, living it out is next level. And, and that's really what we hope to get across is not necessarily what you're saying, but what are you doing? And I love that. And, outside looking in, I didn't know you guys before, I guess probably a couple of years ago, but the Reed's metal business had a great reputation, right? And I wasn't even in that industry. You guys helped build our metal building where we were, but the reputation was there, and I think that's awesome. So I know Logan is all in on some of that and has probably got some great questions on some of those too. Before we jump into that a little bit, I'd love to hear your story. So right now, you guys are doing a lot in real estate. You built a successful business, sold out, moved on, not sold out, but you sold and then you moved on to other things and have a great business that you're growing now. But how'd you get here, man? What are some of the things that you've learned along the way, but what's part of your story?
Jeremy, you're better telling it. Go for it.
Well, I'm bad about getting going fast and just kind of skipping through it. So if I get too fast or too slow, just let me know. But just kind of childhood to where we're at in a few minutes is we were born and raised in a small little coastal town in Florida called Horseshoe Beach. And it's not really what you think of when you think of Florida and the Destin and those areas and Clearwater and all those Daytona beaches. It's a lot more remote and kind of like South Louisiana. The coastline there had a lot of marsh grass and creeks, but it's really small town and a lot of commercial fishing went on. Our dad was a commercial fisherman for years. A lot of the family was. They was in that business, and they had fish houses and processed fish. But the population was probably 200, 300 people, and it was like 20 miles to the next town where we went grocery shopping. To go to Walmart was like 45 minutes away. To go to a movie or something would be an hour and a half to Gainesville. So that's kind of give you an idea how remote it was. But in the 90s, they banned the nets, which kind of put an end to that whole commercial fishing in Florida. They still did it in other states. But so that kind of, we were really young at the time, but that forced our family to get into other things. And we had some brother-in-laws at the time that started some businesses. And we were, as a young teenager, probably 14 years old or so. Daniel may have been 15, but we're pretty close in age. But we would go after school and work for our brother-in-law building portable buildings, kind of like these 16 by 20 buildings they put in your backyard. And we'd work on that, and we got paid piece rate. So that was a great thing we learned early, was never really like a time clock after that. So we got paid so much to build a building, whether we build it in 8 hours or 20 hours. So incentive was there to work hard and find ways to work efficient. And that was a great learning experience for us early on. We didn't really see it, I don't think, at the time, but we got a little older and able to drive, got out of school. Then we left that and started working kind of by accident, started putting on roofs and doing there on the coastline. They had a lot of canals, so we did boat houses, sea walls, stuff like that on the coastline. Then we started doing roofs. And so fast forward a little bit, a couple years later, state of Florida got pretty strict on working without a contractor's license. For the first few years, we could just have the homeowner pull permits. So they cracked down on that, and we went and got our state license as a roofing state contractors in Florida. And then we did that till 2010, and primarily put on metal roofs as the contractor and did the installs, did a lot of the work ourselves. Probably in 2008, 7 and 8, we had a lot of crews, and with at one time, I guess we had probably about 25 people working for us, and I think 3 crews. And so prior to that, we'd done a lot of work ourselves. Then we got really busy during that economy. And then like 2008, the phone just quit ringing. It was weird. So we had to lay off a couple crews, and we went back to just putting them on ourselves, and just really slowed down, was able to get through it. But 2010 got an opportunity to move here to Mississippi and start a manufacturing company, manufacturing the products versus installing it. So it was a lot cooler in the summertime to be off the roof and working in an office. So that was a big change of pace for us. But met a lot, didn't know anybody in the area. We have a sister that lives up around Jackson, Tennessee. So that, she was 2 hours away or whatever. But other than that, we didn't really have no connections with this area. But some reason moved here and sold everything we had, and actually down in Barnes Crossing RV park down there behind, I guess, Academy now. We pulled up some RV trailers and lived in there for, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so. That didn't even have a business or a building picked out yet. We just knew we was coming up here and was going to do something. So we made a couple trips up, and then we just said, if it's going to happen, we just got to get up there and make it happen. So we just loaded up. At the time, had I think one kid maybe each, so that was really small. So it was a good timing family wise to do something like that. But those RVs got pretty small pretty quick. But fast forward, man, we've made just really blessed by this area. This area's been great to us. A lot of great customers and great team members that we've come to know over the past 8 to 10 years, and just have been really blessed with a good. North Mississippi has been really good to us, from employees to, like I said, loyal team members, employees, to the customer base, the contractors, the suppliers. The customers, it's been incredible. But I think we just really focused on the customer service side of things, and that really paid off. Trying to keep it as simple and as many as the least amount of rub points for the customer. And I think a lot of people don't get that, where they make it more about them than the customer and what's easy and what's in it for them. And did a lot of things that most people probably wouldn't have done for the customers. And looking back, maybe some of them was a little extreme, but we just always said yes. Had a hard time telling customer no. And we'd find the product, bring in inventory just for them, whatever it took, to grow a customer base. And so that was. Let me back up a little bit in the story. So that was 2010 to kind of now as an overview. But in 2014, we was growing good here in Tupelo, and we had an opportunity to start up another plant in Jackson, Tennessee. So we would kind of take turns rotating in the startup the first couple of years, going up there. Let's say I'd go up there a week, and then I'd come, and then Daniel would go up there a week, and we'd rotate. And we've always been able to work real close like that and kind of know what the other one's thinking without even saying it. So it worked out really well. We was able to kind of rotate in and out and grow that. And that store did really well as well. And we was able to ship a lot of products up from this plant, that we had more capacity here with welders and machinery and a lot of capacity that we had here, which we was able to run that one a lot leaner on inventory and equipment and overhead and even personnel, because of the support. And we'd send a truck up there every night supporting that store. So it really took off. And then in 2018 we got an offer to sell, and wound up selling the company, and stayed on for about a year till I guess probably about a year ago. It's my last day there at Reed. So it was in February. So I've been gone a little over a year, and now we're full-time in real estate. So really liking that. And now we buy distressed houses, and have multiple ways we process those, but and we also buy and hold apartment buildings is kind of the main things we focus on. So
yeah. Wow, man, that's awesome. I know Logan's got some questions he wants to ask, but I just want to call out a couple of things from observation stuff, man. You guys, each time there was a transition. You talk about, the fishing nets, there was a transition, and the contractor license, there's a transition. And I love what you said. We don't really have any connections up in Mississippi, but we know something's going to happen. We're going to make it happen. That's good stuff. And then one other thing, I loved what you said there was, making as less amount of friction as possible for customers. You got to be easy to work with. And I love that you said that, because that's key in any relationship, but especially when you're building a business and you're trying to add value to customers, but be easy to work with. Right. And anyway, that's just something I wanted to call out. So what you got, Logan?
No, most definitely. Removing hurdles definitely increases the odds that somebody makes it to the finish line. So love that. Love the commitment of, hey, we're gonna move up here and figure it out. I think we've talked a lot about the past year or so. The people that are able to adapt the fastest are going to win in the environment that we're in right now. And I would imagine that's why you guys have been able to do well, regardless of the industry. And it sounds like you learned it from an early age, when the community kind of lost its industry and you had to go find a way to pivot. One question I had was, how early did you adopt the what I want this philosophy? Is that something that was taught to you? Is it something that kind of came to you? And at what point did you guys say, hey, this is how we're going to do things? Because it sounds like it just highly impacted and drove your employment process, your sales process, and really everything that you do.
Yeah, I'll let maybe Daniel speak on that some. I did want to clarify on the nets. We was really young at the time, probably. We wasn't working age, but my family had adapted then into something else, and then we would come in as they were old enough to work and was benefited as a part of that. But we wasn't making, like, we wasn't fishing personally, but all of our family was prior to that. But just to clarify that. But
yeah. And that I'd kind of heard that, and I think that example was set at an early age, which is awesome. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Family definitely thinks that way. Yeah. So good example set there at an early age. But as far as the WIWT, maybe Daniel can remember a little more specifics on it. I was trying to remember it was probably.
Yeah, I'm having trouble remembering the exact date on it. I want to think that come about through EOS. Am I correct on that, or was that pre?
I think it was a little before that, but probably about 2014-ish, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I think it was just growing pains of trying to deliver a good service and product to the customer, and just experiencing growing pains of growing and trying to get everybody on board with just making it happen for the customer. And I really don't remember exactly if it was a team challenge we did or how we come up with that, but just through a process of trying to, you can see what you want for the customer, and that's just an easy, they should be able to come in, order, easy process, and then get their stuff and quick timeline, and it should all be there. So it seems really easy, but it's really a lot more complicated to actually do it. There's a lot of moving parts. So it's like, how do we take it and simplify it? And everybody, instead of us going out there with checkboards every day and trying to stand over their shoulder and watch their work and count all their pieces and all that for them, is just really turn it into something where it kind of self-governs itself. Like Daniel was saying, if it's scratched, that was something we dealt with a lot. It was scratched pieces of trim, and the trim, as you know, is what makes a house or anything. You trim it out, and that's what the finishing touches. So there's always a question of, do we throw it away or do we keep it? So we just kind of turn it back on, and the person working there and say, if you've been saving and I saved up $3,000-4,000 over the past 2 or 3 years to re-roof your house, and you bought it, paid cash for it, and they brought it out and it had this scratch on it, would you be okay with it, or would you say, no, I want another one? And if you're okay with it, and more than likely the customer's okay with it. If you're not, they're not going to be, more than likely pretty close in there. So that was kind of, I think, just through a lot of just trying to get that instilled as a culture, was just on the quality control and the customer service side of things. And the same thing is like even unloading the material in someone's yard. If you just paid $3,000 or $4,000, would you want it all stacked up nice and neat, or just in a big pile, so I think it just come from a lot of kind of come on man conversations with team members of like, it doesn't have to be this complicated. Just use common sense is what you want, and most of the time that's what the customer wants. They're just like us. So
yeah, I love it. It's as simple as kind of the Chick-fil-A my pleasure culture, and it's really easy. Like you said, it starts to self-govern itself. The hard part is figuring out what's the right mantra for my business that's going to permeate the culture and self-govern. And so that's why I was kind of curious about how you arrived at that. So there were a couple of questions along the business timeline that are pretty interesting. One, you started it, bootstrapped, grew, and then had an opportunity to open a second location. A lot of our listeners are small business owners and have trouble scaling and going from, okay, owner operator or self-employed to business owner, and I have a system that works for me that's somewhere else. How did you guys make that transition from one location to another location out of state?
Yeah, you want to answer that, Daniel?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question. I mean, it was a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication for sure. Like Jeremy said, there was we traveled up there every day. We opened the store and closed the store for probably over 2 years before we had managers in place that we felt comfortable enough to take that over. But systems, we had a solid COO at the time, or a CFO, I'm sorry. And he helped us a lot with the financial side of it. He would come, up there pretty regular with us. But, one thing that we didn't have day one up there, but later on really was a benefit to kind of bring them even closer together, was EOS, the entrepreneur system. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that or not, but it really helped us towards the end there. We were on it a couple of years before we had the acquisition. It really tied up a lot of the loose ends that we had worked on for years, and really got us a lot more structured. And we were actually in our stride in 2018 whenever we did sell out. And a lot of that was due to that system. So,
yeah, I would give a lot of credit to that, but and like you said, the financial side, because knowing your numbers is huge, and accurate, timely reviewing of your numbers. I mean, you got numbers don't lie. There's no emotion to them. They don't care what you think about them. So it's had a good CFO that really would do the numbers and helped us a lot on the accounting side. Learned a lot on that side in manufacturing, because there's a lot of inventory control and the payroll side, and it's just a lot around numbers. So I would say that would be a big one, is really knowing your numbers to get to the next level. Is and that don't mean looking at them every quarter. I mean, I remember a lot of times daily looking at them, and there's some things, there's lags in them where everything's not accurate, but I mean, we really tracked sales really heavy. We had some good spreadsheets we made where we could see pipeline sales, we could see today's sales, we could see month to date sales, and we could see year to date sales. And then we had by sales rep, and we had budget. What we would sit down at the beginning of the year with them and get projections based on their past and both agree on it. And then we had seasonalities. So, this time of year, you ain't shipping a lot of stuff because it's raining and snow and ice. So so if it was $1 million a year, we would take it, and it wasn't just 1 million divided by 12, what's your monthly number. It would be based on seasonality. So we'd look at historic reports and say, 80% of our sales are in the spring and fall, or whatever it was. And then again, a good numbers guy can help you with this a lot. But then on this report, we could see, and really help hold them accountable on our sales. That's number one, is sales. If you ain't got sales, you ain't got a business. So that would be the number one. If you didn't look at nothing else, would be sales. But really having a good way to see that, not just total sales, but individual, granular, day to day. And we'd send it out every day to the whole company, and every department, every salesman seen it. And we would conditional format it where if their goal was 50,000 for the month, and here we are 3/4 of the way through the month, so they should be at, let's 3/4 of 50 would be whatever that is. Let's say 40, it ain't 40,000, but 40,000, they should be at 40,000 3/4 of the way through the month. So if they were, they'd be in the green. Their number would be green. If they wasn't, they'd be in the yellow if it was 70, within 80 or 75 or 80% of that. And then if they were below that, it'd be red. So right away, it's tons of accountability on the sales department to get the sales in the door. And we could identify right away who was doing good, who wasn't, to see who to try to, what you're doing that's working and what are you doing that's not working. And just really know on a day-to-day basis, not just get to the end of the month and hoping that we had a good sales month. So I think that was one system that really helped us. And then that was an easy thing once we had the second store, just plugging that and duplicating it for that store. And then we even got where we would, share between the two stores and try to do a lot of the same type stuff intercompany there, trying to keep a team, because they had, had to work together a lot to supply the other branch. So it's important that everybody kind of stay in the loop. But then on outside of the numbers though would be like Daniel was saying, we got on EOS. If you're not familiar with that, you read the book Traction by Gino Wickman, or How to Be a Great Boss. We got to a point probably in 2015 or maybe 16 where we'd set a goal for like 4 million in sales in during our peak month. And I think it was in May. So April, May, and then September was normally our best 3 months, maybe October. But we'd set this goal, and everything, all the efforts went into the sales, sales. We got to get this goal. And we got it. But at the end of it, man, at the end of May, I mean, everybody was just wore out. We lost a couple great employees as a result of it. Learned a lot of valuable lessons. I mean, you can't push people but so far. I mean, a goal's nice, but I mean, if you lose some good quality people, I mean, is it worth it? So you got to kind of compromise there. And so we went through that month, and it was like, kind of like, hey, yeah, we got our sales. That's great. We was excited, but it was like, it really stressed the business and showed us like thing after thing where our weak points were. And then it was, the summer starts, it was slowing down. And then that was like, we got to find answers to these questions if we're going to get to the next level. So I remember we went in like the 1st of July. So that was May. Then June, we had a lot of meetings trying to figure out how to strengthen the company in every department, basically outside of sales. Sales were doing good, but we was going up to see the art up there in wherever it is in Kentucky or wherever that they built. And on the way up there, I Googled some books about being a better boss and stuff like that, because we really seen the need for, the turnover we were having there. It was a leadership problem and a underlying issue. It's easy to blame people leaving, their faults and failures, but the next one's going to have similar faults and failures. So you got to keep looking in the mirrors. Why is these people leaving? They're great people. Obviously we're failing them. So Googling books, and one to come up with How to Be a Great Boss. So bought the audio book on the way up there and listened to it. And I think I listened to it twice, maybe 3 times on that trip, coming and going. Sent it to Daniel's and sent it to one of our shop foreman or plant manager at the time. And it's like, y'all got to listen to this. This is the answer to all of our problems that we've just figured out we had. And so they all listened to it. And probably by September, we had hired an implementer. And so with the program, they come out, if you want them to, they'll pay a guy to come out as a third party and facilitate your meetings, and highly recommend that if you're able to pay for that. We got a lot better results that way. It was held accountable. But within a year, we had implemented that system fully in our company. And basically, probably the main way I would explain it would be, they have an illustration in the book that's a circle and arrows. So you got arrows just point every different direction. And that's kind of what your organization is without some type of system that you run on. And what EOS does, then they show another example of a circle with all the arrows like a string. They're all flowing in the same direction. And it really brings clarity on back to what we started out with, our core values, our core focus, our goals, our 10-year, our 3-year, our 1 year, right down to quarterly, to monthly, to weekly. And so, you reverse engineer all that, and how you fire people, how you hold them accountable. It's just a total system you run on that was, that just made a huge, huge, huge difference in our culture, in our morale, and more importantly, our bottom line. And we still hit, continue to grow our bottom line with that. So that would be, if you want to look at business to the next level, I would highly recommend, like Daniel said, EOS, looking into that. And there's a lot of answers in that book.
Also,
those books.
That leads me into kind of the next thing I wanted to get at, but also don't want to skim over the fact that kind of that paradigm shift was, it sounds like you guys taking responsibility for, hey, this is a leadership problem and not, we have a turnover problem. And, if you didn't take responsibility for that up front, you don't go looking for a book that brings you a system that brings you the results. So I think it's easy for us to get caught up in the day-to-day and think, I just got to go get somebody else and plug them in and keep going and not solve the root problem. And so it's a good nugget to pull out. So fast forward to 2018, couple of things. One, with I guess small business, and a lot of times we run into an issue where our business is more valuable to us than it is to somebody else, especially for those that have grown organically or haven't used debt to grow, because when they go to sell, you're introducing new debt. How did you guys build something that was more valuable to somebody else and decide that the timing was right to sell the business?
You want to speak to that, Daniel?
No, go ahead. But I think maybe you ought to just give a little more clarity on the type. It wasn't a franchise, but it was, we had a partner as well, and kind of bring in that a little bit.
Yeah. So we, Reed's Metals, that was a company we built here locally, but Reed's Metals had been already in business with a partner that we partnered with, Bernie Reed, out of South Mississippi, for probably about 10 years.
Okay.
And so he had contacts about wanting to grow. And so when we come up, we partnered with him, and we got equity instead of just, we just become equity business partners, and didn't know what we could do with it, but knew he was wanting to put some more stores out there. And then we was looking to get out of what we were doing there with roofing. So great decision to do that. And so we had, it wasn't a franchise, but it was just an equity deal, I guess you would say. It wasn't like buying a franchise, but so he gave a lot of, we ran the day to day, and he was very hands off on what we did. We would talk a lot on things that was working there, and we would, talk some back on what we were seeing. But in the meantime, he'd done the same thing with some other people in other states. So they were building some businesses as well. So I think when we sold, there was 6 maybe locations. We had 2 that we owned, and then maybe 4 more, maybe 7, but in different states. So I think being a part of something bigger, as far as under the umbrella of Reed's Metals, really helped, as far as something that was viable to someone else, that, and we were just growing a lot as the whole company. And I think it caught the attention on the sales side and the growth of a competitor that was in the space, and they just kept sending offers, or not offers, but letters, kind of beating the door down, wanting to buy. So it wasn't really something we was looking to do. It just kind of happened. So it was an opportunity that just presented itself, and it really wasn't the best time to do it in some ways, because a lot of people prepare for that. They get, a broker, and they get advisors, and they cut certain expenses out, and they clean their books a certain way, because it's a multiplier. The type of sale we had was a multiplier on EBITDA, or net ordinary income. So there's a lot of things if we would have been looking to take it to the market, that we would have done different instead of, it costs money to grow. So we were in heavy growth mode. So our 2 stores in 8 years, it went from 0 to about 65 full-time employees. We never laid anybody off during that time for not having work. Now, wintertime, we would maybe go down to 40 hour, 36 hours a couple of times, but we never had layoffs from not growing. And we grew double digits. Normally, so 65 full-time team members, and then we were doing a little over 30 million in sales combined with our 2 stores, not including the other REITs. So that kind of gives you an idea how much sales growth we had, and I think that caught the attention of somebody. So I think, again, sales. A lot of people say sales is everything, and it's probably 95% of them. If we wasn't growing, we wouldn't have got that opportunity. But we've always been the type too. We don't want to just sell and not fulfill. Fulfillment's a big part of it. So that was something we always it was always a struggle as you grow, was trying to juggle fulfillment and order accuracy and the growth to keep the service level up. Because you sell something, you sell a building on the I'm gonna get it to you in 6 weeks and make the sell up front. But if it ain't there in 6 weeks, you don't keep selling them to new people, because that reputation gets out really quick. So it was always a kind of a juggling of, all right, let's step on sales, and then we got to go work in the shop and clean that up and or get that up to the level. And it's just kind of a stair step. It always seemed like kind of a rub there, but maybe that answered your question.
Yeah, that's super helpful. Cory, I know you're itching to dig into some stuff and get to what they're doing now.
Yeah, well, I also wanted to say one other thing. You had kind of questioned about a lot of the businesses. I think Logan and Chris, you guys are expanding your business and looking to buy businesses, but also working with businesses. A lot of small business owners don't know their business. They don't understand where they're at. And you touched on that. That was one of the things that was important to you guys. You had your scoreboard, right? And you were intentional about knowing your business, but also intentional about knowing where your numbers were. And I see that as a big issue for a lot of small businesses. They want to grow, they want to do things, but they stay more in defensive mode or responding and reacting mode instead of playing offense. And playing offense in kind of small business is knowing your numbers, knowing where you're at, knowing where you stand, and knowing where you need to grow and those kind of things. And I just wanted to call attention to that too. And I'm kind of curious, what are you guys excited about right now? You have some different things going on now, but what are you excited about now?
Well, man, we're we kind of have 2 different things going on. We got the multifamily thing we're doing, and then we're doing the single family. We're actually partnered up with Sean. You know him well. You guys have worked together in the past. So that was a great decision and a great move for us to partner up with him about 9 months ago or so. That's coming along really well. We're flipping several many houses. We've got about, 10 or 12 going at any given time, in various stages. And then on the multifamily, we've got several things under contract right now. We're in a 32 unit in Saltillo that we have underway, full rehab. We'll get into every unit there and rehab it, bring it up, and make it really nice on the inside. All new finishes, all new wearables. Granite countertops. They'll be brand new on the inside. The outside, we're going to do some work as well. So just really excited about what we're doing. It's brand new, like Jeremy said, this, a little over a year that we've been doing this. So we're still learning a lot in this industry. We've done some, we've always been in the construction, but it's mainly been roofing and siding, that sort of thing. So the interior stuff is kind of a little learning curve for us there, but catching on and just loving it, man. It's going great. Of course, we're always looking for deals, always needing more deals.
Yeah.
A hungry beast.
Deals of money.
There you go. Hearing your story, man, I can't help but think about this proverb because I love the book of Proverbs, but I mean, you guys just figure it out, right? That like there's no a lot of people that I talk to, they seem to have some excuses or, well, now's not the right time, or I don't have any money. Well, I mean, you guys moved up to Mississippi and lived in an RV park for a little bit, and you made it happen. And the proverb that keeps coming to my mind here, I'm gonna pull it up real quick, but it's like the sluggard says, there's a line in the road. There's a fierce line in the road, right? And it's basically talking about just excuses for not going to work or not figuring things out. And I just see you guys like no excuses. This is what we want to do. We're going to figure it out. And I just wanted to kind of set that up to, if there's somebody out there listening, maybe they've got an idea, maybe they've got a desire for some kind of business, but they're on the fence. Any words of encouragement for them from you guys from being in some startups?
Yeah. Well, man, Jeremy posted a quote the other day about knowledge. What was that quote, Jeremy?
Said knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. Action is power. I think it's something along those lines. But just knowing it is not what gives the results.
Yeah, it just got to start some action, man, and you can't be paralyzed by failure. Sometimes, you got to get some action going, and you may have to pivot. You may have to. Illustration our partner used to bring up a lot. He said, when I get in my plane, he had a small little 4-seater plane, and he would fly up here some. He said, if I leave Brookhaven and I filed a flight plan, it's direct, it's straight to Tupelo. But if I get over Jackson and a thunderstorm pops up, I'm going to go around it. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to go around. My plans have changed, but either way, I made it to Tupelo. So sometimes that's what it's like in business. You start out, and we talk about that a lot with Sean. There were a lot of answers or a lot of questions we didn't have answers to in July of last year, but we knew that if we could just get some action going, get some momentum, we'd have to come back to the table and work some of that out. But if everyone's willing to pivot and do what's got to be done as we're growing, that's kind of how we see it. Being open to change. That was part of our core value as well. We're always changing.
Yeah, I think too, like the analogy of you're saying about the straight line versus reality. If something's going to come up and you're going to have to go around it too. It's another flying analogy would be, it's just getting like I look at business kind of like a plane. You got to get it off the runway. There's a lot of work that goes and there's even some stuff about the amount of fuel that a plane burns on a 2-hour flight. Like 70% of it's on takeoff, just getting it off the ground, getting it to altitude. But when you're on the ground, you may be pointed in the opposite direction of where the direction for the winds that's blowing right then to take off on the active runway. But just get it up off the ground and in the air, and then turn on course. And then you're going to have to true up again because the winds are going to change direction. Just keep bringing it back. That's what autopilot does. But you're not on autopilot. You're taking off, and you got to turn this way and get on course, and then correct your instrument again and keep truing in on where you want to go. But a lot of people, I think they don't take that action to really get it off the ground and get it going, and then they want to just already be in the air at cruising altitude and just kind of fine tune it a little bit here and there. And I think the other thing too is they spend a lot of time on stuff that don't really matter. They back to sales. Without they non-revenue generating activities. And there's some of those that if you're a one-person startup, you have to do, but I think you got to be conscious that you're doing them, and just as soon as you can, get someone else to do them, because with tweaking your logo and your business cards and all that stuff, it's not going to bring in any sales dollars. People don't care about that stuff. Go out and provide value, take action, get some deals in the pipeline, whatever it is, and start making it happen. Then the other stuff will start being more important, and you can outsource it or whatever when there's a need for it. But I think a lot of people, they spend a lot of time on stuff that really don't matter, and they just takes up a lot of their day, and that end of the day, it don't matter a bit. They spend all day doing it. So that, and then the other thing I would think would be, really look at the business you're starting, and is it just a high paid job, or is there a way to, build a team? Has that type of company ever sold? If that's what you're looking for, is to build something and sell it. You can Google stuff like that and see if this type of business has ever even sold. Is it a sellable business? Know going in what you're looking at and what you're building, and really, get that compound effect on your time and your efforts, where you are building something you can sell one day and not just trading time for dollars. So that would be a few things I would recommend. And then one more would be, find somebody that's doing what you're doing and get around them. I mean, and you may have to pay to be around them. That's one thing we've done a lot in real estate. Daniel said we're new to it, but I think one thing that we've done right in it so far, and it saved us a lot of mistakes. Even some this week that property was looking at that is, there's a lot of fake gurus out there, but find someone. There's a lot of them that ain't fake. There's a lot of people that's doing what you want to do at a high level, and a lot of them are lonely. Success is like, it's lonelier at the top. A lot of people say that. So what we found is people that are doing what you want to do, a lot of them are happy to tell you what they're doing, because they don't ever get asked that. They're in shallow conversations about the ball game or whatever, and they never get asked, like, hey, how, if it's investing or whatever, really asking, want to learn that. And then, so what we found when we do that to older people, they really open up and have great conversations, learn a lot from them. So that's free. Other thing is pay to be around people. Pay to be educate yourself, online courses, mentorship programs, mastermind, stuff like that. We're big believers in that. And it just really shortens that length of time that you have. If you could take 10-year results and condense them down to 5 years, is that not worth some money? So that would be the other thing, is get around real people, not fake gurus, but real people that's doing what you want to do.
Oh man, you preaching now. Come on, Jeremy, you preaching now. I honestly have never lost money paying for a course or a seminar or thousands of dollars for coaching and all that from somebody legitimate, like you're saying. I've never lost money. The return is, I can't even put a number on the return. And kind of, one of the things that you mentioned early on, realizing, like on that trip, buying the book and developing yourself, that was something I had to find out early on too, is that I was the lid on my business, right? My business was not going to surpass my ability to lead it. My team wouldn't either. The business owner, had to grow. And if I didn't, I couldn't expect the business to grow either. So, yeah, man.
And I tell you another thing too, today with the information age and the internet, when we were roofing, we didn't even have iPhones, I remember well into our roofing career, when iPhone come out, but anymore, man, there's no excuse for not knowing. And I remember all the, like, looking back, if I was a teenager again now, I would audiobooks, YouTube, all this free information, I just soaked it up. Instead, we listened to the radio for 2 hours driving to work. Just stupid crap on there, could have been filling our mind. But I guess there would have probably been tapes back then you could listen to, and CDs, but never really was exposed to that. The people we were around, that's again why getting around the right people is important. But see what they're doing. But there's a lot of wasted time that we could have even multiplied our results a lot more by educating ourselves. And there's a lot of it that's free out there, and no excuse not to know nothing anymore. So,
well, I've got one other question, and then I know Logan's got a good one to wrap up with, or I know we're getting up on your time there. I've noticed all successful people really have some daily habits, or they have some habits that they try to adhere to. What about you guys? Are there any habits that you really tried to implement or try to be consistent with that's helped you in your personal growth and in your professional growth? Is it the book?
I'll go on that, or I can go first or second on that. I'll let Daniel decide.
Go ahead, Jim.
Man, for me, I think I really try to have a morning routine. It's something that's like, it's been in my mind, for years now. I even write it down, get up early, 4:30, 5 o'clock. I don't always do it. So I don't know why, but sometimes I'll hit a streak and do it good for 3 or 4 months. And then, it's some reason you fall out of that. But that to me, if I can stick to it, would be getting up at a certain time. I'm the most productive when I do that. But outside of that, not just a time you get up. I still like one thing I found last year after leaving Reed's and having like more time on my hands than ever to try to re-identify yourself in a different industry and that. So I found 75 hard, and that was something that I did last year and changed my life as far as really helping with mental toughness. It's not so much it is a physical challenge. You get physical results, but you really get a lot of mental toughness out of it. And really, it's about the commitments you make to yourself, sticking through to them, even the little ones. One of the things you have to do every day is take a picture. That's simple to do, but it's also simple to forget. So I think that's one that back on it now. And I know Daniel's doing it this year. He's getting close to being done. So 75 hard's a big one if you haven't done that. Another thing I do is I have a weekly, like a sheet. I just lay in there where I get dressed in the morning. And it's just about 10 things that I want to do. One of them is getting up at 4:30, back to that. But it's on there, and the goal is 7, so you got Monday through Sunday, and the goal is 7. And well, for that one it is. Next one is maybe spending an hour with my kids every day. And let's say that may be 6 out of 7 days. That's realistic. I could do that. So my goal on that is 6. When on down to, so this is work, it's relationships, faith-based stuff, read my Bible, praying every day. That's 7. So just let's say 10 things in the different areas of the wheel of life, and some of them may only have the scorecard be, or the goal be 2. But I just go through every day and I put a 1 or a 0, and then at the end of the week, tally it up and against the score. And that's just a way, it's a personal scorecard that kind of, again, it's like the flying analogy, just kind of keep bringing me back on track when you get off track. And I don't hit it perfect every week. A lot of times I mess up a lot on it, but I'm conscious of it, and I know where I need improvement, and I know what I need to do on a daily basis if I do that. So that's another big one. And then just I love learning like audiobooks, stuff like that. If I'm gonna be driving or going on vacation, I'm gonna be listening to something if I'm just killing time. So a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah. I do kind of that same thing, that weekly type thing. And I don't know how if you're on track or off track if you don't have something like that implemented. It doesn't have to be exactly like that, but I don't know how you don't know. So
Yeah.
Daniel, what about you? What are some habits? And I'd like to hear some of Logan's too, if you had any.
Well, man, that's an area I do struggle with, just to be honest with you. I don't, I'm not as structured as I like to be. I like to get up early as well. Like Jeremy said, sometimes I do good at it, sometimes I don't. But I try to exercise regularly, and I have been doing the 75 hard. I'm on day 56, I believe, today. So I'm liking it. It's been a good thing for me. It's definitely been a good thing for me. It's been tough, like you said, it is mental toughness for sure. So I'm hoping to finish that. I'm planning on it. I just hope I don't screw up, come close to missing something small, like he mentioned there, the photo or whatever. But that's been really good. And then outside of that, just trying to make time for God. Not always the best at that either, but got that I try to keep that in my routine.
Logan, what about you? What are your habits? And then wrap us up with your question right there.
Yeah, mine, I definitely am the best version of myself when I get up around 5 or 5:30. And I just feel like if I'm not doing that, I'm not playing offense. If I get up much later than that, I'm already getting emails. I'm starting to get phone calls and text messages, and now I'm reacting instead of being ahead of the curve. getting a good first meal in for the day is important for me. This will sound a little bit weird and specific, but like if I eat 3 eggs and an avocado in the morning, like I feel superhuman. So like if I can get that done, I just know that my body's going to feel good all day. And then getting some physical activity, and always drink a gallon of water. That's another one. I drink 32 ounces of water before I put anything else in my body. So those are just kind of a few of the things. I want to read at least 5 pages of a book every day. I know it sounds like a small number, but man, some days it's hard to find time to read 5 pages. But I know if I can do that, I can get through a few books. Something, Cory, that you and I have talked about is I always want to be learning and putting knowledge in. And I feel like that we kind of talked about the information age and how accessible everything is. I think like this is kind of a year where I'm trying to slow down on the inputs and focus a little bit more on some of the implementation and the application from some of that stuff. I read and listened to so many books and podcasts last year, but I didn't do an awesome job of execution on all the things that I learned. So this year I may try to do a little bit less, but get a little bit more of that stuff implemented. So anyway, a couple of things to note is, man, what gets measured gets improved. And I think that sums up a lot of what you guys did from, whether it be sales, controlling costs, quality control, all the way down to your personal lives. And that's awesome. Sounds like you're measuring a lot of stuff, and that's why you guys are really good at building momentum with things. And it sounds like that's rooted in, like you said, go take action. I think a lot of people don't want to put in the amount of work. You said it's lonely at the top. It's because the people at the top work really hard. And you ask them how they did something, and it's oftentimes not very complicated. It's pretty simple, but they worked their butt off to get there. And it starts with taking that action, and then you start to get momentum, and those things compound over time. So I think that's a lot of the reason you guys have been so successful in what you've done. And with Reed's Metals doing what it did for you in 10 years, be very interested to see 9 years from now where you are with what you're doing now. So kind of the last question we like to wrap up with is, what is one thing over the past 5 or so years that you knew to be true that you learned was not in fact true? So for me, I kind of operated under the assumption that people that were successful or in high positions in a company had it all figured out. And then one day I was like, oh, wait, they don't have a special blueprint that everybody else doesn't have. They're just good at learning and adapting and like you said, course correcting. So what is something that you kind of operated under the assumption was true that you learned may not have been?
Like a limited belief?
Maybe a limiting belief that, yeah.
I'm gonna go after Daniel on this one.
Man, I was hoping you would go first. Well, I don't want to steal yours, and I don't want to sound like that, but that is so true. I mean, I thought that so many things that people that were, say, maybe highly educated or highly successful had everything figured out, and I could never even come close to walking in their shoes. But when you do get to know these people, you find out a lot of the things they live by is pretty simple. And so I'm piggybacking off of you, man, but you totally caught me off guard on that one. But that is definitely something that I've noticed myself, for sure.
Yeah.
There, Jeremy, I gave you a couple minutes to get something.
Yeah.
I bought you some
still pretty
time,
dry.
Jeremy.
Maybe you can edit out some of this lull here. I don't know. I mean, probably just around more like with building a team and all, just that people, have this kind of want the same thing you want a lot. I don't know. Maybe there's some stuff around that, but I don't know if it's really a limited belief that held me back, but just maybe more like that. I don't know. I don't have a good answer to that. I apologize. You caught me off guard on that.
You'll have
Yeah.
one after you think about it for a couple of days. Stuff will start coming
Yeah,
out.
they're like, dang, there it is.
Yeah.
But
Cory gave us a heads up on his questions there, Logan.
He likes to throw me in with a curveball at the end. I'll start sending that in writing ahead of time.
Yeah.
But no, I guess when I was a little younger and naive, I thought everybody operated with positive motives. And then I got into the working world for about 2 years and I was like, wait, that's not true. A lot of people are driven by self-interest.
That's kind of what I meant around employees. I was trying to articulate. It's like people don't exactly. They're not all good motives. I mean, learn a lot about people working with them. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and not everybody's motivated by the same thing. Like if you're designing the incentive structure for the sales team, like maybe they're more motivated by if I hit a certain number, I get more time off with my family and not I get more dollars to the bottom line.
It ain't all dollars. Nope. Some of it's just straight recognition, which means way more than dollars.
Yep. Yeah. Have you guys read The E-Myth?
I'm not.
I think that was one of those paradigm shifting books for me, but it's about kind of about building systems, and it sounds along the same lines of traction. How to be did you say How to Be a Great Boss? Is that what?
Yeah, there's several books in that series, but it's all around the same EOS as entrepreneurial operating system that they run there. But it's they have rocket fuel, traction, How to Be a Great Boss, and then I think that's it. Three different books, but it's all around the same system.
I need to check those out. That E-Myth, and then I mean I'm sure y'all have done the Rich Dad Poor Dad thing.
Oh yeah.
And I'm about halfway through Cash Flow Quadrant right now, and then I got the Why the Rich Are Getting Richer. He's got a newer one. Yeah. I just read that one this month. That's a really good one. Is it good?
Yeah.
Is it a lot of repeating from the other books?
Yeah, it's the same message, but there's more. There were several takeaways from it about debt and stuff that I never really thought of it that way.
Started listening to a lot of his podcasts, and what do you guys think? I don't know if Cory's recording anymore or not. I'm just curious from a real estate standpoint. Now, what do you guys think about what inflation is going to do over the next few years, and are you factoring that into any of the stuff that you're looking at, and how are you kind of planning?
And I don't see how it can't help but appreciate cash flow and real estate. I mean, that's
cheap debt.
It's cash flow, yeah.
It should be something that paces.
There's going to be more and more demand for it, I would think. The value of the dollar is going down.
So. What size multifamily stuff do you guys typically look at, or do you not have is it all just percentage based and doesn't matter how many zeros there are?
It's really about the deal, and where it's at. Like here, we're buying anything from a 4 unit to a bigger, and up. But out of town, a couple hours away, we wouldn't want to do nothing real small. So
it'll be worth your time.
Yeah. And so I think around here, we got to, building out our management company and to manage our properties. And so we can throw a 4 unit in there or a 10 unit, but it's hard to get someone in Georgia to manage a 10 unit for you. So
is the management infrastructure, is that more of I guess, quality control and let's keep a finger on the pulse, or is it more of a let's eliminate a third-party management fee, or is it a profit center?
All three.
Yeah.
We definitely got a good person right now managing our properties, and it's no one does it like you do. I mean, your own property. So one guy said the other day that, or it was a book I was reading, I think it said management, third-party management, they charge you 10% to cost you 20% or something along those lines. So 10%, and then they mark up all their labor and all that, and you lose 20% there. So really they're costing you 30%. But no, so now we have an in-house maintenance guys, and then we do all our leasing and collections and all of that in-house. And so that's going a lot better. As of December we started that. So about 3 months into it and doing really well.
That's awesome. My day job is I work for a hotel management company. So
You work with Bruce and Stafford, don't you?
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm the
We
COO.
know Mr. Stafford pretty well. Okay.
Awesome.
Are you going to be involved in the senior living down here with any of the hospitality on it?
We are not self-managing that one.
Okay.
We need somebody to show us the blueprint on senior living first. I'll be responsible for the hotels in that development.
Okay. Out front there, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the COO for the hotel management company. But
Okay.
I'm not involved in the.
I remember Bruce talking about you and bragging on you when we talked to him a couple of years ago. So,
you don't have to say that.
Face with a name now.
Probably cussing. I was probably asking him for some CapEx.
He's a mess now.
He's a mess and a half.
Yeah, we're invested in that senior living in the back. So I was wondering if you're involved in that.
That'll be a good one. That'll be a good one.
We're thinking so.
Yeah. That's awesome. On the management company side, I've looked at a few of different multifamily deals and got some friends in Atlanta that are brokers in different areas, be it multifamily or a couple in industrial, and some of the stuff they're talking about right now is absolute insanity. One of my friends she did 2 deals last year she works for a private money company out of Canada, and they're buying in Atlanta and Huntsville, Savannah. Her 2 deals were 72 and 133 million last year. And the debt terms on those are 30 to 40% down, 7-year interest only balloons. They never touch principal.
Yeah, that's a whole different world. They do a lot of interest only on those bigger deals.
I was like, that sounds pretty exposed for a 7-year term for the bank. But
sure,
I don't know. But they self-manage, and like you said, they feel like they're taking a bet on themselves to drive the value. And 7 years from now, they'll either be able to refi into something else or sell out, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I've got to get ready to go to basketball. We got our last basketball game. I was recording that, but I'll clip that part out. So Jeremy, Daniel, thank you guys for coming on. If somebody did want to reach out to you guys, maybe they have an apartment, maybe they want to reach out to you guys about mentoring or coaching, or if they have an apartment building or house, how do they get in touch with you guys?
For me, it's probably better Facebook. My Facebook is Jubal Butler. Jubal is my first name, Jubal, Butler, Butler. I go by Daniel, but just hit me up on Facebook, private message, and that'd be the best way.
Same for me. Instagram, but Jeremy _Butler, or Facebook Jeremy Butler. So on Messenger, DM, whatever. That's the best way.
Awesome. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys. I love the story. It's going to add a ton of value to our listeners. And for anybody listening, we do hope it has added value to you. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you can stay up to date with the new episodes. And you guys have a great day. And God bless.
Thank you, Cory.